Welcome to the Excellence at Work podcast, where we explore the strategies and best practices that drive business success. I'm Rachel Cooke, COO of Brandon Hall Group and the host of our podcast, along with members of our executive team. In each episode, we'll dive into the latest trends, insights, and real-world examples from some of the most exciting leaders from organizations worldwide. Be part of our journey and learn from the best as we discuss innovative approaches and cutting-edge technologies for talent management, learning and development, leadership, diversity and inclusion, and more. Hi, welcome to Excellence at Work podcast. I'm Rachel Cooke, the COO of Brandon Hall Group. How is everyone doing today? Hopefully great. I'm here in sunny Florida and it's a beautiful day, not too hot. And I'm excited to have joining me in our discussion is Lisa Cannell, Senior Managing Director of University of Virginia Darden Executive Education and Lifelong Learning. I've had other guests from Darden in the past, and it's always a mouthful of when I introduce the title. But I love your team. Love your company, love your university and all that you do. A little bit about Lisa. She has 25 years of human resources and organizational development, leadership experience in corporations and higher education. She has worked in HR leadership roles at public and private companies, a leading business school, and consulted privately with organizations. She has overseen all aspects of human resources, including employee relations, recruiting, performance management, information systems, compensation, benefits, learning, and development. She currently builds relationships with corporate CHROs and CLOs to provide talent solutions and executive development. With the UVA Darden School of Business faculty, she creates custom learning experiences for corporate leadership cohorts. And today we're going to be talking about, from the CHRO seat, AI implementation is a people challenge first. I'm really excited to really kind of dive into this conversation. And in prepping for our podcast today, we were talking about the history of CHROs and where they are right now and the importance their role is in the people, right? The people of the organization. And then, of course, AI, we have to have a conversation with AI. So before we go into our conversation, I also want to congratulate Darden again for being recognized, I believe, almost about 8 Excellence Awards, leading in learning and leadership from Brandon Hall Group, which is not just recognized from Brandon Hall Group's executive and analyst team, but also a large panel of judges from around the world. So congratulations. And thank you for being a great partner, a platinum sponsor at our HCM Excellence Conference. And I just learned that you will also be joining us again next year. So Super excited. Lots of great stuff ahead.
Great. Thank you, Rachel. Yes, I have enjoyed our partnership with Brandon Hall and participating in the conference and with our team, working with our clients to put forward our nominations for the great programs that we've done. And so I'm glad that's continuing as well. Thank you for having me on today.
Thank you, Lisa. And let's get started. I think this is a great pivot to what we were talking about around CHROs and the history and what has shifted that change, and what do you think about leadership and AI adoption and how they fit into this? What kind of impact can they have?
Yes, Rachel, you and I remember the days weren't too long ago where that seat at the table was the biggest opportunity or goal for a lot of CHROs, that to be a strategic partner, leader. That's another word that you hear a lot in the HR space. And I really believe that we are now on the cusp of an opportunity for all HR leaders to be at the table if they aren't already, because of the changes that AI is bringing. There are a lot of great opportunities and there's a lot of risk. And because this is a technology that is so not focus isn't the right word, so related to people because it can act as an employee itself, and it can help your employees, and it is something that we have never seen before, where HR definitely needs to have their input as a leader. There will be risk to the organization, and the organization won't benefit as much, and risk to the HR leader themselves if they aren't. So I really believe in this, and I'm excited about the time that we're in, and I have an opportunity to talk to a lot of HR leaders as I consult with them around potential opportunities for us to partner. And I hear about these challenges and opportunities based on their organization's maturity with AI, and based on their employees embracing it or not, and based on the HR leaders' comfort and confidence themselves in being a leader. So thank you for this opportunity to discuss this more.
It's fascinating when you look at where companies are, and we've created the AI progression model that places, and we asked organizations in our studies, how are they embracing AI? How are they ready for it? Are their people ready for it? Are their leaders ready for it? And as you mentioned, AI implementation is ultimately involving people, and it's a people challenge.
Yes.
And what are you seeing with some of what organizations may not be doing quite right, or what they're doing as far as, how often are they getting it wrong?
Yes. What I'm seeing is a tendency, not that it's wrong, but there's a tendency to focus on getting people skilled to the exclusion of looking at it more strategically, or getting them involved, I should say. Not that they're not looking at it maybe at the C-suite level more strategically, but they're not bringing leaders below that necessarily into those conversations. So there is a let's continue to more of a thinking of, let's continue to work at the mass level or the lower levels, getting people skilled up on using Gen AI and whatever tools, the organization is providing to them to do that. So making sure they're comfortable, making sure they're using it. Some organizations are requiring it and being very top down about that. Others are just encouraging, it's grassroots. But the biggest mistake that I see is not pulling together or bringing together the top level and the bottom level, for lack of a better term, the masses, leaders that represent the masses, in conversations about what AI can do for the organization. Because yes, it has impact on individual productivity. I use it all the time, and I don't know how I haven't had this before, but I'm thankful for it. But that's not impacting the organization, right? So you can have a lot of different people using the tools that you've given them, that you're helping them with their skill building, and making sure that they're empowered, which is a wonderful thing. We can talk about that too. But if they're not giving input in or understanding the large system-wide processes across departments or within departments that can benefit from more sophisticated tools, agents, and enterprise-wide AI solutions, then you're missing an opportunity, because that's going to change so many things potentially with what you need from talent, how they need to work, what types of processes can be more efficient, where you can capture more value in the business and the value chain, in the chain of whatever business you're in. And it's just a miss, I think. It's just a miss to wait too long and hope that those two levels come together on their own.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm seeing that quite a bit. And from your experience as a CHRO, what are the biggest human barriers to successful AI adoption?
I think there is fear, first of all. That's always a human barrier. You will have in any organization, you will have, just like with any, you're going to have a bell curve, you're going to have a spectrum of people, right, that are change adopters and change haters, or resistant, I should say. And so that's the same with adopting using AI usage, again, at the Gen AI individual level. And that is something that needs to be nurtured. I personally don't feel like a top-down, you will use this is the best approach. Not many people like to be told because I said so. You have to. Brene Brown just put something out about that, right? Just because you're told that you are supposed to use it to be, it really is an opportunity for people to get excited about the work they're doing and be curious about how to use it to help make themselves better. And so that is the type of encouragement to try to get, people to move up that curve or that spectrum of adoption needs to be of helping them see potentially where there might be use cases for them individually. Sharing, I think crowdsourcing is a great opportunity because this is the first time that I have seen any kind of technology be implemented in an organization that actually is something that the masses, the non-IT people can put their hands on and play around with and be curious about. This is not something that you have to wait for Chief Technology Officer, CIO rollout, and then finally the end users be trained on, okay, this is a system now that you need to be using, and here's the strict way you need to do it. This is a great time for people to actually go, wow, this is about me. And so the more you can help people see, again, because people have fear, don't know how, fear it's going to take my job, or, I don't want to look stupid, or I don't know how to use it. I think that the other reactions that people have peers, if people have peers that they see using it in a way that might help them or spark some curiosity, again, that's something that would help that, what I say mainly is the fear and resistance to change.
How does case method and experiential learning help leaders prepare for the ambiguity and complexity that comes with AI adoption?
Yes, thank you for asking that. And for anybody who does not know, Darden is known for case method. Our faculty teach in the Socratic method. So it is a flipped classroom where you come prepared by having read a case about an organization that has a protagonist and there's an issue they're wrestling with, trying to make a decision about, and you're given the facts of the case. And when you come into the class, you are put on the spot immediately to answer questions about what would you do and why. And then there's great debate among the participants in the class about why and how did you make that decision. And I've experienced this firsthand as a Darden alum. Our faculty use this method in our executive education programs as well. The fact that one of the potentially not so good sides of AI, Gen AI, I should specifically, people using it individually, is that it can lead to, I'm hearing a lot about this, brain rot or, AI slop and a lot of different things that are, people are feeling like, I'm seeing reports and I'm hearing it from my own Gen Z daughters that it's like making them dumber. People are, if you use it and use it too much without really advancing your knowledge and just kind of rely on it as a crutch, you can lose some of that the critical thinking skills that you might have already. And so the reason I wrote about this in one of our blogs is that critical thinking is going to be even more important as we go forward. And the fact that you are in this classroom and you're on the spot and you cannot use AI to come up with your responses and you have to think through things, to me, kind of balances that out. And it can help leaders really work that muscle that they might not be using as much these days. Again, that's one of the potential downsides of reliance on it.
Yeah, and I think this is going to drive more programs or more courses around developing critical thinking capabilities because it's very important. It's funny. I have an example. Recently, this was my husband and I. We were watching My Life at Oxford, the movie that just came out. It was a cute rom-com, and there was a scene in the movie where they were eating at the food truck, and my husband said they were having a falafel, and I was like, no, that's a gyro, and he's like, no, it's a falafel. Said no, I grew up and I was around a lot of Mediterranean food. I'm like, I know that that's not a falafel. So he Googled on his phone, what's a falafel in AI, and probably one of the AI tools, and then it said, the scene at my life at Oxford, the couple was, at the food truck, and it was, were they eating a falafel? And it said yes. So I asked the same question, were they eating a gyro? And it said yes. So then we had to dig a little bit deeper, but because I'm human, in my experience, I
Mhm.
knew that it was not a falafel. So then I asked another question to describe what is a falafel versus what is a gyro. And so I was right. Anyway, so, but that is like and I'm
Yes.
so excited about this. I am like, I'm going to use this in one of my next presentations or,
Yes, it was hallucinating. It was maybe, again, I'm not an AI expert, but it sounds like
right.
it was hallucinating, giving you the wrong answer. And yes, so we're going to have to, the leaders are going to need to be able to test, verify, understand that you can't rely at, face value all the time. Make sure you're editing, not just editing, right, but verify. And understanding what it's doing behind the scenes is
Mm-hmm.
important, and understanding where its limits are is important, and what inputs it needs. And that's just for using it from a Gen AI perspective, like you're talking about, right? Just but beyond that, when using it in a systematic way with building agents that will actually be talent in your company, that is, I mean, I think it's exciting because in some ways it may cause leaders to spend more time, or should, really understanding what the role of AI is and what it's being asked to do and what the parameters are and the requirements and the skills and all the steps and the processes. And I know I'm not the only CHRO who has in her career seen that a lot of times that's overlooked with managers. With a human talent, you
Mm-hmm.
don't spend as much time ensuring that they have the right scope and resources and skills and procedures specifically to get the output, or you haven't even clarified the outputs you want. It's kind of, oh, they'll figure it out. Well, that's definitely going to be a risk with AI tools. And so I hope that that translates into kind of an understanding of, well, that this is what you need to do with any resource, whether it's human or otherwise, that you're asking to perform work. It's not just, okay, plop them in there and see how it goes. Leaders are going to need critical thinking, again, for the verification, for thinking through what organizational system-wide enhancements strategically can be made with AI, and for understanding what the roles are currently and what the work is to be done and what it needs to be done in the future. I think there's going to be a lot of role review, maybe, and I wouldn't even call it role review, task review, work review, that's going to need to happen, and that ultimately that's going to change organizational structure.
How should CHROs and business leaders think about talent development and the skills that they need? You talked a little bit about that in the beginning. How should we be prepared in developing people, or thinking about what kind of talent is going to be needed for to be successful?
Yes, good question. I think overall, talent who is open to using AI themselves in their individual role, and open to working on a team with AI, and open to suggesting ways that AI can benefit the organization. So it's people who are open and curious about, what can it do for me individually? How can I work with it across a team? And what can it do because people are in an organization doing the work are the ones who are going to always know, right? When you bring in consulting firms, they do great work. A lot of times it's mining what the organization already knows, and how, you have to go to the subject matter experts and the people who are doing the work every day and lift
Mhm.
those things up. So if people aren't lifting those things up, you're not going to get the benefit. So it's finding people who are curious about that and open to it and not afraid, development for that comes with helping people with a mindset. So developing that mindset of curiosity, the mindset of, business acumen. I always say leadership does not happen in a vacuum. I mean, I don't know if I've stolen that quote from somebody. I've been saying it for so long. Leadership happens within a business context or organizational context. And so leaders need to understand, again, how their business works, why, what the goals of the business are. There needs to have that linkage. And so that's why I believe so strongly in what we do at Darden, because we are teaching leadership in an integrated model of you as a leader in a business and having an enterprise perspective, which most CHROs already have, because you have to understand what every part of the organization does and what every job does. And helping more leaders have that enterprise perspective will help. So that, again, that's I'm putting a plug in again. Not only is it critical thinking that we help with, it's that enterprise perspective. Developing leaders to understand that will help them with their individual productivity on AI. It will help them with their working with a team of AI agents, and will help them with giving input into organizational wide implementations of AI to help the company in its goals.
Speaking of implementations, like we're still seeing, when we looked at the research in our progression model, at the maturity of where organizations fit within either considering AI or implementing AI, they're still kind of stuck. Like I would say only maybe 10 to 20% of organizations are truly thinking about, no, actually it's lower than that, thinking at it at the highest level of really implementing it and fully optimizing it strategically throughout.
Yes.
So how can we help companies get beyond just the pilot? Because a lot of companies right now are just still in the pilot phase or testing it out or rolling out the biggest co-pilot.
Yes.
So
yes.
How do we get beyond that?
Yes. Thanks, Rachel. I am excited to share that we are helping organizations get beyond that, because we have faculty who are experts in lots of disciplines in a business, to include data science, analytics, that basically AI is born out of, and then all areas of the business. Meaning, if you're a company that supply chains are important to, operational supply chains, we have experts on that. Marketing, digital marketing is important. We have experts on that. So I am working with organizations with their top management or groups of their top management or C-suite to put together workshops. And these are to help they do bring together cross-functional leaders to help them understand, the hype. Basically, it's not training on AI, but we do a kind of what is going on in AI today, in the world with other organizations. What are they doing? What is the hype? What is not? Then we get into the meat of the workshop, which is what are areas, and we will have worked with them first to kind of narrow it down. But, what are the areas? Is it supply chain? Is it marketing? Is it finance? Is it your product development area that you can look at cross-functionally and determine where the best use cases are? AI is not going to be the best tool. That's the one thing I have learned from working with our experts. It is not always the best. You could do things without AI. It's not going to always be the right thing. But having that collection of leaders understand the business opportunities and do what our faculty do is help them in a workshop fashion figure out what the use cases are that they should focus on at an organizational level. And we can go beyond that as well. I like to say that you're getting experts, and you're getting it in a way that helps frame the right questions. And there is not an expectation, because we are not consulting on any AI implementation. Our faculty consult on lots of different things, but as far as what executive education does, we're teaching you to teach and to learn and to do yourself. And so this is not our end game is not to then say, okay, now we want to sell you an implementation of whatever we have helped you figure out to do. We're really there to help you learn how to do this on your own. And that's been really exciting. So I'm looking forward to us doing some more of those with other clients.
Yeah, it'll be great to see some of those examples that we can share as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's really helpful. And, that's what we're here to do, is to, provide success stories and examples of what's working and help CHROs and their teams really move their organization ahead. And by doing so in a process oriented way that considers the risk, that considers also,
Yes.
some of the challenges that others have went through. Right. That's why we're
Right.
having this conversation, because there's a lot that goes into it. But organizations can't sit back and wait and see for
No.
very long. They had a few years to do that. Now it's time for companies to really kind of jump in and obviously, not where they need to have a parachute and fall, but they need to
Right.
really move ahead. Otherwise, they're going to be left behind. And now, the time is now more so than ever.
Yes.
It's a competitive advantage for companies that are thinking about this and leveraging it, but
Yes.
mindfully and appropriately, and really thinking about everything. So, if there's anything or one message that you would like to leave our listeners with today, Lisa,
Mhm.
what would it be? Or advice? What could you offer?
Yes, I would say, speaking to the HR leaders out there, use your organizational development skills that you have been honing, using all along to bring together the masses who are using it on their own with, bring it and with the executives and the strategic cases, because this at the end of the day is going to change organizations dramatically. And a lot of the work that needs to be done is good old looking at the work, what needs to be done, org structure that comes from changing how the work is done. And we're the experts at that. And so don't stand by and wait for it to happen or wait for IT to happen. Use those skills, step in, ask how you can help, and we're here to help you with that. So I would love to have that opportunity with any of your listeners.
Thank you, Lisa. Well said.
Thank you, Rachel.
Please do take advantage of Lisa's offer here, and they have a great team. And we look forward to seeing you next year, if not sooner, at our
Thank
HCMS
you.
conference. Again, so excited to have you back as a
Looking forward
partner.
to it.
And a great conversation today. I know we could cover a lot more, but everyone stay tuned for some more great examples and success stories coming from Darden and Lisa's team. Thank you again, Lisa.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Thank you for listening in.